This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dr. Sem Yankees program. It's January 4th, 2025. Boy, does time fly. It's amazing. Hey, let's make today a great day. How do you make your day great? Well, the easiest and most effective way is to look around, notice the good that's all around you, and there is always good, and to appreciate it. Take it in, look to the good, and then spread it forward. When we give love, when we give kindness, those wonderful attributes come back to us. They reflect back to us. And oftentimes, if not always, in greater amounts than we ever gave. Now, if you can't find anything good, well, then create some good. Go out and do something nice somehow. If you can't leave your home, do something nice from home. Find a way. And then there's good. And then there's something that you can appreciate. This is the Dr. Sem Show. A reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia Publishing is an independent publisher located in New Mexico, a completely traditional publishing house. I have had a lot of interactions with Artemisia over the years, and especially these last few weeks, as I'm putting the finishing touches on a yet-to-be-named, fantastic, and highly readable and super enjoyable book about the Yankees that should come out in 2025, this very year, probably, hopefully, in time for the World Series, but definitely, as long as I do my part and get my work done, in time for next Christmas and the holidays. Artemisia has, of course, published numerous other of my books over the years, including some of my classics, 365.2. Hey, do you have a New Year's resolution? Read this book to help you make it happen. Roy White's wonderful book, From Compton to the Bronx, The Least Among Them, which is a fantastic book about the Yankees, and my wonderful novel, Scattering the Ashes, now, of course, an audiobook as well. Take a look at all of those great offerings, plus the many, many, many other books from the many, many, many other authors in a variety, many, many, many different genres. Go to Artemisia Publishing. All right, let me change that banner here. We'll get up the website, start spreading the news.blog. If you don't go there, if you don't read our wonderful Yankee site at least 3 different times every day, you're missing out. We put up quality content and original articles every day at 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 2 o'clock at the very least, oftentimes more. So here we are, my friends. The Yankees have not done a whole lot of anything these last couple of weeks. And I thought it would be appropriate if we took a moment here as 2025 begins to look back at 2024 and the baseball players we lost. Now, there's a list on Baseball Reference. On Baseball Reference, that list is titled 2024 Major League Baseball Died This Year. It's not the most articulately labeled list, but it lists all of the players who passed away. It lists 94 batters and it lists 45 pitchers. It lists also 8 managers. Now, some of the batters and the pitchers are combined because if the pitcher played in a non-DH league or before the advent of the DH, or if that pitcher played even in the American League once the DH came into being and had the opportunity to hit, maybe in an interleague game or on a rare occasion, teams lost their DHs and had to have a pitcher hit, then that pitcher's also listed as a hitter. That's why there's more hitters who passed away than pitchers when Baseball Reference makes these lists. I assume they're automatically generated through a computer program. And if the person has any at-bats, they get listed as a hitter. The only way to get listed as a pitcher is if you pitched. So on occasion on lists like this, if there was a player who also pitched, that player would or should at least also appear on the pitcher column. And I'm going to check that out right now to see. It is. My supposition is correct. Rocky Colavito, who passed away, pitched for the Yankees. I mentioned that in the book, The Least Among Them. I have a special mini chapter on position players who pitched in games for the Yankees. He's in there, and he is on both lists. So that's how the lists are generated. If you've had any at-bats, you go on the batter list. If you've pitched, you go on the pitcher list. But it's obviously much more common for pitchers to have batted than for batters, position players, to have pitched. All right, with all that out of the way, I'm going to do this in a way that no one else has ever done or typically does. Usually the people focus on the big names. The Willie Mays passed away last year. Ricky Henderson just a few weeks ago passed away last year. And people tend to focus on those big names, and I'll probably touch upon some of them. But what I'm going to do is just look at the list alphabetically. I have the list in front of me, so I prepared it, but I purposely didn't read ahead and read the names because I wanted to get my gut reaction to who those players were, especially the ones who I remember as Yankees or who I learned about played for the Yankees, and try to share some nuggets about them. But as we go through the list, there'll be also some players who were never Yankees, who I have memories of, and I'll talk about them as well. So that's what we'll do. It could be the first 10 names could be all lesser known players, or they might be the biggest name players, or it might be, and it probably will be, a mix, a combination of all. So let's get to it as we remember, and maybe this will be part 1 of 2 if I don't get through the whole lists, as we remember a bunch of Major League Baseball players who passed away last year. So as I'm going down the list is in alphabetical order. And the first guy that has a connection to the Yankees was Doug Bird. Now, I remember Doug Bird, a right-handed pitcher. He wasn't a Yankee for very long. I believe he played for the Yankees for just about a season. I recall him having a baseball card, I believe, in 1980. But it's interesting. The Yankees had Doug Bird and Don Hood, and they both have first names that begin with the letter D and last names that are 4 letters. And Bird is a word and Hood is a word. And as a kid, I got them mixed up a lot. Doug Bird was a right-handed pitcher, and Don Hood, as I recall, was a left-handed pitcher. The next name I come across, oh, very interesting. Never played for the Yankees. I'll pull up his page right here to share some information about him. He won a batting title. He was an all-star. And my first interaction with this player was because in 1979, in the last year of his career, a career in which he earned 32.7 WAR, blasted 204 home runs, and ended with a career batting average of 299. Again, he played over 15 years playing for the Braves in Milwaukee and then Atlanta. He played for the Texas Rangers. He played for the Chicago Cubs, the Oakland A's, the Cleveland Indians, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Oakland A's again, and then the Toronto Blue Jays again to end his career. And that player is Rico Carty. Now, I was just talking with some baseball fans about this the other day. I learned about Rico Carty 2 ways, but the first way was that 1979 season. It was a couple years after, actually, but that's when I became more familiar with his name. Through the game Stratomatic. In 1981, for Christmas, my grandma gave me Stratomatic. I've been in love with the game ever since. I got 2 teams with that original set, the 1979 Blue Jays and the 1979 Los Angeles Dodgers. There was also a coupon to order new teams, so I quickly sent that order form in and was able to get the 1981 Yankees. I remember getting the Oakland A's because of Ricky Henderson. I remember getting the Royals. I remember getting the Phillies, the Red Sox. My dad's a big Red Sox fan. I got the Mets. I'm not sure how many teams you were able to get. I remember getting the Astros. I'm not sure how many others I purchased with that first group of cards, those 81 guys. But I remember Rico Carty playing on the 1979 Blue Jays. And he was one of the guys I used when we played, and I learned how to play Stratomatic against my dad, who was also learning how to play Stratomatic. That Blue Jay team had Rico Carty on it. And as I recall, he did not have a position. I'm looking at his baseball reference page here, switching to widescreen view, and I'm going to scan over to the positions, and it says, all right, he played exclusively DH that year. So I thought that was interesting that all the other players had positions on their cards, but Rico Carty did not. Rico Carty, a heck of a ball player. Orlando Cepeda also passed away, a Hall of Famer, as we go down the list. And we'll mention another guy who I mentioned a little bit quickly at the very beginning, Rocky Colavito. Now, Rocky Colavito was a Yankee at the very tail end of his career. His career ended in 1968 with him playing 39 games for the Yankees. Colavito didn't do especially well. He batted just .220 with 5 homers and 13 ribbies. But in his career, he was a super player. He earned 44.5 WAR. He blasted 374 home runs in an era when that was a lot. He drove home 1,159 runs. His OPS plus for his career, remember, 100 is average, was 132. In 1965, he played in every game and led the league in walks. He had a 383 on base percentage, and he also led the league in RBIs. In 1963, he led the league with 692 plate appearances. In 1961, he led the league in games played with 163. In 1959, he led the league in home runs with 42. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the year after that 59 season that he was involved in a big trade. One of those great trades that people like to think about and talk about. I'm just checking my facts because I do most of this off the top of my head. But I believe that year, it's a lot of pages for him. It's true. He was traded just before the 1960 season. The Indians traded Rocky Colavito, the home run champ, to the Detroit Tigers for Harvey Keene, who was the batting champ. That's one of those things that's just so much fun. You hear people speculating and imagining, would you ever trade the home run leader for the batting title leader? And in that specific instance, the Indians and the Tigers did just that. So keep going down the list. Here's a Yankee also who passed away, Bud Daly, left-handed pitcher. Bud Daly was a pitcher, I believe, on the 1961 Yankees. He was. He pitched on the Yankees in 61, 62, 63, and 64. As a Yankee, he put up a career record of 18 wins, 16 losses, 3.89 ERA. He even saved. Oh, no, those are complete games. He saved 6 games. I was going to say he saved 7. He pitched 7 complete games. He saved 6. Bud Daly, former Yankee, passed away. Now, there's another guy named Pete Daly. I don't remember much about Pete Daly at all. He was a catcher who actually played for the Red Sox for most of his career. He played from 1955 to 1959 with the Red Sox. And then in 1960, he played for the Kansas City A's, and in 1961 for the Washington Senators. All right, remembering a lot of former baseball players. Carl Erskine of the old Brooklyn Dodgers, who had a 12-year career, he passed away. There's not many Dodgers from I don't know how many there even is. I think there's a few, but there's not many Dodgers left who are still living from their Brooklyn days. Carl Erskine was one of the last. Now, here's a name. Billy Gardner was an infielder. He later became a manager, and he played second base. He played shortstop. He played third base. Interesting, a right-handed hitter, but on his picture on Baseball Reference, it shows him batting left-handed. And Billy Gardner was a Yankee very briefly. In 1961, he played in 41 games for the Yankees. And in 1962, he played in 4 games. He was then sent to the Boston Red Sox, I assume in a trade. Let's find that out real fast. I didn't know about this trade. He was traded to the Red Sox for Tom Umflett, who I don't really know anything about. That was on June 12th, 1962. The Yankees and the Red Sox don't make a whole lot of big trades, and this definitely wasn't one of them. And he did. He became a manager. Billy Gardner managed the Minnesota Twins from 1981 through 1985. And in 1987, he was the first of 2 managers, the only year he did it, to manage the Kansas City Royals. So I'm going to take a break right here to talk a little about something a little different, just for a minute. I am now the vice president of what's known as the Elysian Fields chapter of the Society of American Baseball Research. There are chapters all across America for SABR. If you haven't joined SABR and you're a big baseball fan, I highly recommend that you do. Most chapters have meetings that are actually run now through Zoom, so a variety of people can get to them. They also do live events. And I think a lot of people get put off by the title, baseball research, and they think, oh my, that's too much. I'm not a big researcher. I just want to enjoy the game. The name is somewhat of a misnomer. SABR is really a collection of people who love baseball. I've joined for the last numbers of years, and obviously now I'm a vice president of the Northern New Jersey chapter, the Elysian Fields chapter. And these are just good people. They love baseball. I've talked to many chapters across the country about my Yankee books. They bring me in on Zoom, and we just have great discussions. They love talking about baseball. They love asking questions. They come up with things that I would have never even thought. And we just have a great time. There's no pretense. There's no sense of I'm smarter than you or I've been in the organization longer. So I encourage you, if you have some time, to look up SABR. And I want to share that the Northern New Jersey chapter, the Elysian Fields chapter, is going to be having a number of events. Next Wednesday, January 8th, I will not be in attendance, but it's an online event. It sounds great. And I'm going to meet Dan Chachowski at a different event. But there's going to be an event January 8th on Zoom where Dan Chachowski is going to talk about Bruce Springsteen and his use of the term speedball rather than fastball in the song Glory Days. On Tuesday, January 14th, Dan Evans, the first person to scout Ichiro Suzuki for a major league team, will be talking to the SABR community, and you do not need to be a member of SABR to join this, about Ichiro, who is going to most likely be elected into the Hall of Fame, and other things that he did as a GM. Wednesday, January 22nd, author John Hussman talks about his book on Roger Buchanan, who was a catcher on the old New York Giants. And here's an in-person event on Saturday, January 25th. Get a chance to meet me, some of the other Northern New Jersey SABR people. Bob McClure from the Clyde Sukeforth chapter up in New England is going to come down and be part of this. This is going to take place at Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson at 9 a.m. It's a baseball card event. There's going to be a discussion about baseball card collecting. And then from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., there's going to be a baseball card and collectible show. Take a look at this logo once again. And if you go to Start Spreading the News and you scroll down, you'll find an article with this logo as the picture accompanying the article. And if you go there, you can get more information about all of the events. And these will be periodically appearing because there's more events coming. One at the Yogi Berra Museum, another at Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson, and many, many, many more. This is your chance to really get to interact with a lot of great baseball people and just have fun talking baseball. It's really terrific. So take a look on Start Spreading the News, and you'll find a lot of those wonderful, wonderful events. Another Yankee who died last year, as we get to the letter G, Don Gullett. Now, Don Gullett was a better pitcher than anybody remembers. Don Gullett, listen to these win totals. In 1973, he went 18-8. In 1971, he went 16-6. In 1974, 17-11. In 1974, 15-4. In 1976, 11-3. And then the Yankees signed him as a free agent. Think about that. He had gone 91-44, a .674 winning percentage with the Cincinnati Reds. He comes to the Yankees in 1977. He goes 14-4. He has a .778 winning percentage. And then he gets hurt. And the next year he managed to have only 8 starts. He went 4-2 in those 8 starts. And unfortunately, his great career was over. A .686 winning percentage over his career of 9 years, a 3.11 ERA. Don Gullett was a much better pitcher than anybody remembers. And sadly, we remember Don Gullett because he is one of the Major League Baseball players who passed away in 2024. Of course, a lot was said about Rickey Henderson. I remember when the Yankees acquired Rickey Henderson. He was one of those players that was too good to be real. He was a superhero. He stole bases all over the place. And when the Yankees got him, I was just in awe of the fact that the Yankees had acquired Rickey Henderson. The great Rickey Henderson is a Yankee. That was 1984. And oh my goodness, I loved Rickey Henderson on the Yankees. To be fair, I did not love Rickey Henderson, not on the Yankees after he left. He helped so many teams win. Now, over time, I begrudgingly gave Rickey a lot of my respect again because he just hung around and kept playing. He played independent minor league baseball, was signed out of the independent league, playing with the Newark Bears to make it back to the majors with the Dodgers. You know, you have to love how much Rickey Henderson loved baseball. Lincoln Mitchell wrote a great article about Rickey Henderson. You could go to Start Spreading the News and read it. I loved him. I loved watching him steal bases. I loved the snatch catch in left field. Oh, it was just great. And of course, all of baseball misses Rickey Henderson. Ken Holtzman, who was also a great pitcher, and this is probably where we'll have to stop. Maybe one more name after this. I don't think people realize how great of a pitcher Kenny Holtzman was. Listen to these totals. 1969, 17 and 13. 1970, 17 and 11. 1972, 19 and 11. 1973, 21 and 13. 1974, 19 and 17. 1975, 18 and 14. And the Yankees acquired him and got him in 1976. And he really didn't do much for the Yankees. Billy Martin, the manager, never really seemed to like Ken Holtzman, but he was a big-time pitcher. The Yankees had acquired Ken Holtzman. They had acquired who had been previously on those World Champion A's teams. They had acquired Catfish Hunter. They tried to acquire Vita Blue, but the baseball commissioner, Bowie Q, knocked that down. But Kenny Holtzman was a much better pitcher than he ever showed when he was on the Yankees. And that wasn't his fault. That was the way he was used as the manager. And I guess this will be the last guy as we get to the bottom of the hour. Another left-handed pitcher who pitched for the Orioles and pitched for the Yankees, Rudy May. Now, Rudy May had two stints with the Yankees. His first one came in 1974 through 1976. In 1976, he was traded to the Baltimore Orioles. And then he came back in 1980 and stuck with the Yankees to the end of his career in 1983. I always liked Rudy May. He was a crafty left-handed pitcher. What people probably don't remember is what was probably his greatest season came in that second go-around with the Yankees. In 1980, Rudy May went 15-5. He had a .750 winning percentage. 41 games he had that year. He was there all over the place, pitching as a starter and a reliever. 41 games, 17 starts, a 2.46 ERA. And that 2.46 ERA led the league. So we remember with sadness and happy memories, but sad that he passed on, the great Rudy May. So those were some of the Major League Baseball players, mostly with ties to the New York Yankees, who passed away in 2024. I am going to be away next Saturday and Friday, so I will have to pre-record next Saturday's episode way in advance of next Saturday. And I assume that the topic next week will be me completing the list, remembering so many of the great baseball players who passed away in 2024. I remember them all in my hearts, and I send my sympathies and my prayers to their families. To all of you, thank you for watching. Make every day great. You know, life is not forever for any of us, so find those people you love, tell them you love them, give them a hug, make their lives special. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and I'll see you again recorded next Saturday morning at 7 a.m. here on the Dr. Sem Yankees show. Thank you.